Good evening, everybody. Sandra Sheffer, host of Race and the Races. How are you doing? I'm back again. On Thursdays, we're doing this weekly immigration segment with Dr. Naomi Blamur and community leader Christine Sanon-Jules. So it's a lot that happened this week, right? I think we've inspired some of the electeds to start putting in some of that community work. So we're happy to say that. We're not going to take full credit for it because it might just be a coincidence that we were dragging people and talking about folks last week, and all of a sudden they were out there the next day doing the people work. We love to see it. Who cares what the motivation was? We don't care. I don't care what the motivation was. I'm just glad they were out there speaking up, talking about all the inhumane things that are happening in ICE custody, and we want to inspire them. And we're gonna talk a little bit about some faith leaders today, right? We might need to call. We're gonna call some of them out because they may need to have some prayer vigils and start like trying to find a way to lay hands on the man to reach to his heart. So we calling on all the faith leaders this week to go ahead and start the prayer circle and get that little energy going. So Bonzier, could come on in West South Cafe, how he can help us out in this situation. Because we always called on the Lord, but we gonna need them to start doing some organized prayer sessions. The touche chemist side. So let's see what the other ladies got to talk about today.
Wow, wow, wow. Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so
Right.
much for tuning in. First off, I want to thank everyone that showed up to the prayer vigil that we had on on Sunday. Speaking of calling on the Lord, but it was a beautiful moment, and we had people that showed up. I didn't even know them, and I didn't know how they got the information, but they showed up, and it was a blessing. So thank you, first and foremost. Thank you to everyone. We truly appreciate it.
I have to give a shout out to some of my PLTI sisters, the Parent Leader Training Institute. I was part of cohort 2023, and three of my PLTI sisters were there in support. They had their Haitian flag up, and they're like, anytime we do it again, just let them know, and they're going to show up because this is necessary work. And Black women are resting. However, we're showing up and we're doing it in our own way and at our own time. We are resting because usually we'd have been like, we'd have been making noise all day with banging on the pots, doing whatever, but we are putting in the work. But at the same time, we're also taking care of ourselves. So shout out to the PLTI sisters that were there, Monique, Carlene, and Madeline Noel. They all showed up for us, along with folks from Florida Rising, another immigrant organization. We had press there, like press showed up, just to they're trying to get a feel for what's going on. And also there's something that's going to be happening tomorrow in Miami Gardens on 180 something and 441 that we'll talk a little bit about. Before I get into that, I'm going to let Dr. Naomi, talk about, what's, introduce us to what her topics are going to be this segment.
Bonsoir, bonsoir. Hello, everyone. It's really great to be back this week with everyone. Indeed, a lot has happened. A lot is happening. And yes, absolutely, kudos to the elected officials that decided to get on their job, right, and represent people and speak up for the people, especially during a time where people feel that their voices are not being heard. And it was really great to see those that are elected to do that job actually deliver, right? I want to actually acknowledge my fellow co-hosts, Sandra and Christine, who led the path in making sure that we put a visual together for the young lady, 44 years old, who passed at the Broward facility. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend, but I just want to say thank you for your leadership, ladies. Thank you for not waiting for somebody else to do the job, and not waiting for a title, but realizing that life lost at 44 years old, and that life had value, and we needed to put a voice, right, to the cause and what actually took place, and who we still don't know exactly took place, but we wanted to let people know that it had happened. She lost her life, and It should not be. It should not be. So kudos to you guys for doing that. I watched online, and I shared it over 40 times because I was really moved by the prayer. I was moved by the speeches. I was moved by the support of the individuals that were there. And it touched me because I said to myself, you know what? All hope is not lost, because we do have women like Sandra, we do have women like Christine that actually have a heart to do the work and do it with grace and do it well. And I was very proud of you guys. So thank you so much.
And you forgot Christine's song. Now she blessed her with her voice when she was singing, you know. So we had everything. We had prayer, we had song, we had activism, we had community. And you know, it was cool
Everybody
while we
sang.
were, yeah, and while we were out there, people were blowing their horns in support. So that was like a added, like, beautiful moment that was also happening while we were out there. So, you know, and we, you know, and it's unfortunate that we have to continue to add the name of Black folks, you know, for like say their name, remember their name. But you know, Marie-Ange Blaze is going to be one of those names that we're going to add to the list of folks that have lost their lives in ways that they should not have, right? And it's going to continue to create the activism. No matter what people are doing, we're going to, you know, her name is not going to be forgotten. Her name will not be lost.
Absolutely, absolutely. And another thing that I want to highlight is that as Haitian Americans, we're always the forgotten group. So if we do not stand up for one another, listen, ain't nobody coming. Nobody coming. So if it's not another Haitian woman who says, you know, this woman's life was taken short in a very malicious way, and it didn't have to be. Channel 10, I said this from during COVID, Channel 10 don't come down our block. They just don't, right? And so even when we were in crisis, when they were having interviews about, you know, what are people doing, how are communities thriving, Channel 10 did not come down our block, didn't come down my block. And I didn't hear from Haitian Americans that were on Channel 10 or CBS or CNN, any of them. So if we do not give voice to our own challenges and to our own people, it's not going to happen. So Patton who dit, oh, un tel pas fait, un tel pas ceci, un tel pas cela, c'est job ou même. Sou ou senti que brasseux ou senti que, oh my God, ça fait la pas fait content, c'est ou même qui peut parler. Parce que sous pas parler, like they say in church, so, you know, don't let the rocks cry out, because it's going to come to a point in time where Haitian Americans, if we're not speaking up for one another, things are going to happen to us, and it's just going to be like, oh, okay. You know, it's unfortunate, but you have to acknowledge your limited power and your limited influence so that you can know when you're ready to do something, how you have to show up. But if we live in this false sense of reality, oh, nous avons pouvoir politique, gen moun qui capable pour nous, gen moun qui c'est là, it's a lie. It's a lie. Ain't nobody checking for us but us.
And when we check for ourselves, they follow.
I just wanted to say also, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. We have a petition going around. If you see the petition, please sign it and share, because we would love to get at least, I mean, if I can get 100 signatures, that would be fantastic. We want to demand an investigation into that facility. We want to demand an investigation to the GEO group. That's what it is, right? And then we also want to demand an investigation to, you know, the healthcare workers or whatever healthcare company is in charge of that facility. We want answers, and we want to make sure this never happens again.
And they need to make sure that happen again. So we have to say, you know, like, yes, we do have limited power, but when we do use the little power that we have, we can you only got to get to one person that may have bigger power, right? You know, they're like, oh, who's this small person who no one really knows that's out here making noise, and that will take the lead. So when we were, you know, preparing for the show, Christine talked about Ilhan Omar and Jayapal, like they're out speaking. Like I have to tell you, a month ago, 2 months ago, I wasn't hearing anything from these members of Congress, and now we are. So Christine, give us some updates on what they're talking about when it comes to immigration. Okay, so she can't hear us, so she may need to go in and come out. So give us some updates while I send this message. Naomi, give us some updates.
Okay, so basically where we are as far as what's going on. Christine, you're back on?
We see her, but she can't hear us. She has to go out and come back in. Sometimes when you get a call, it messes up the sound, so she has to go back out and come in.
So I mean, where are we? Where are we? I mean, Florida, I don't think there's much movement in Florida, and this is where we are as a state, and that's what we need to focus on. Although Christine is going to talk about nationally what members of Congress are doing, but we know in Florida, it is what it is, and we are not necessarily getting any response, and I know that there was a press conference done by two members of Congress in Florida, but what is the state saying? You understand? And I think that's the point we need to get to, who is contacting legislators and who is writing a letter to the governor to demand, as Christine stated, accountability.
Well, so the two electeds, it was Frederica Wilson and Sheila Sheffield McCormick. They between the two of them, they covered Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County in the U.S. House, right? And so they spoke. They got a tour, which members of Congress are allowed to do, and they did speak about what happened. They're the ones that put out the information that there's one doctor that's actually on call, that's not even in the facility every day, to over 500 residents, right? So like what is that? That is like something that's unacceptable and absolutely ridiculous, right? And there is maybe some support staff that's there to support that doctor, but they would not provide that bit of information. And if you're gonna, and what they also said, which I think we mentioned last week too, is that if you're gonna increase the number of custody, you're gonna have to increase the number of doctors and medical providers that's gonna take care of all of these people. I also have to tell you, like, there's tuberculosis at Chrome right now. There's at least one case of tuberculosis and probably spreading at Chrome right now, right? And so they're gonna continue to have these problems when they try to confine people in small spaces. They're picking up anybody off the streets, right? And they do like a medical screen, but by the time you bring that person in the building and then you do the medical screen, everybody's already exposed because you don't know what that person have before you bring them into that facility. So they're going to consistently find themselves having these problems with all different type of outbreak. There was a flu outbreak like a couple of weeks ago to the point where they could barely get people medicated, and people just had to pray that they didn't succumb to whatever. And luckily, no one did in that particular instance. But since this year alone, I think at least 6 people have died in ICE custody, and there's more that's hospitalized. And there's some other things going on that I'm not at liberty to speak about. But I'm telling you, it's not okay. But what I do want to say though is the changes that we're seeing that the administration is doing is in response to the minimal level of activism that we've actually engaged in now, right? So now people are putting spotlights on the facilities that are here, and they know that you can go into the facilities. So what are they doing? They're doing desperate stuff like, oh, we're going to go send them to Panama. Oh, we're going to go send them to Libya. Oh, we're going to send them to Guantanamo Bay, because those aren't places that people can easily go and visit and see what's going on, right? But this is what again, I don't know who's dirigeing them and giving them advice on how to handle immigration, but basically what they're putting themselves in a position to, right, what they're doing to themselves right now is now they're going to find themselves on the radar of The Hague, because now you're getting into human rights violation on an international level, right? So, they don't want us to see what's happening here because people are becoming more and more aware. And we need to continue to talk about this, because I think once just a regular person knows that this is the kind of things that's going on, they're going to have more of a problem with what's happening, and they're going to get more involved. And like I said, I think because people are more aware of what's happening, that's why they're like, oh, they're going to start to try to send people in all these places around the world. So Christine is back with us, and we're going to have her talk about, Ilhan Omar and what Jai Paul have said as it relates to immigration.
Yeah, so Ilhan Omar put out a statement today. I don't know if you guys spoke about the president wanting to deport people to. No, you didn't talk about.
No, we haven't spoken about it yet. We left that for you.
Okay,
We left that for you. Go ahead and talk about it.
So, this was what was reported, that I guess there's an agreement that has been made, and they're trying to figure out who this agreement was made with. But I'll read you the statement from Ilhan Omar, and then maybe we'll get some answers. But apparently, they want to now deport people to Libya. They want to deport people to Libya. So first it was El Salvador, right? Now it is Libya. So this is the statement from Ilhan Omar. The Trump administration's plan to send migrants to Libya is unconscionable, cruel, and blatantly illegal. This decision flies in the face of basic morality. Sending migrants to a country that they didn't come from and where they could face torture and inhumane treatment is appalling and criminal. Amnesty International has described conditions in Libya's detention centers as a hellscape and life-threatening. There are reports of human trafficking and sexual violence. No human being should be subjected to these horrific conditions. There is no doubt that these migrants will have their lives put at severe risk. And then she goes on to say, we need transparency on who in Libya our government negotiated with to make this deal. If, as seems likely, this was negotiated with Haftar's militia, it represents an even graver violation of human rights and abdication of our responsibilities under the Convention Against Torture. The administration's continued rejection and reckless disregard of due process is deeply alarming. Our Constitution guarantees due process and equal protection under the law to everyone in our country, not just citizens. Donald Trump is moving us toward authoritarianism with every passing day. So Congress wants to know, who did he make this deal with in Libya? Because it makes a difference. Because it's like, under whose control are the migrants going to be? This is serious.
This is serious, and the point that I made while you were off was about the fact that they're doing these things, right? So I think the work that people are doing here, all the litigation that's happening by a bunch of the nonprofit organization that's putting in also the spotlight that's coming on what's happening, is why they're getting so desperate, and now they're trying to send people out of the United States so people aren't as aware, because again, members of Congress could just walk into any facility and observe, and they can see what's happening. So now they want to go send people to all these foreign countries, or even make people afraid that they're going to go get sent to one of these foreign countries, and they can just decide to leave on their own. But what America's failing to understand, and again, I really don't know who's advising this man on the things that he's doing. He's going to run into international violations of human rights, and now The Hague may end up getting involved in what's happening and what the president is doing, right? Because now you're crossing. Not, this isn't only stuff that's happening within the United States. You're getting other nations involved, and this becomes an international issue, and you can be in violation of international human rights. And then The Hague has a court, and he just needs to be for real.
No offense to The Hague, but look at what's happening right now in Gaza. I don't see them enforcing international law in that situation. So right now what I see is that he obviously feels like they're not going to do anything to him. And I don't blame him for feeling
they don't do anything until they do.
Well,
so nothing happens until it does, right? So
all right, let's see. Because right now it just
you
seems
keep
like
playing with fire, you're gonna get burned. You know what I'm saying?
It feels like everyone's falling in line. It doesn't feel like something's happening. It feels like he's
No,
getting his
things
way.
are happening. Things are happening. So that's one of the things I want us to not fall into the trap of that nothing's happening. Things are happening. That's why they keep having to pivot and shift, because if nothing was happening, they would have been able to continue to do the nonsense that they were doing every day, right? But because things are happening, they're pivoting and shifting. A judge issued an order last week that said you cannot be sending nobody back under this Alien Enemies Act, whatever. And then so now they're like, he has to say, I don't know if I believe in due process. I don't know if I believe in the Constitution. The reason why you got to make those statements is because you're losing at what it is that you're doing, and you're continuing to pivot, right? And what we cannot do as Americans, as people living in the United States, is allow this man to convince us that we should not believe in the Constitution of the United States. Like, that's what we cannot let happen.
Well, I mean, you give me hope. You do. You give me hope every day, because it is very hard when you see the things that he's been pulling off by himself, not involving Congress, by himself doing these things. I think that when they were questioning Homeland Security, Noam, is it Kristen? Noam?
Yeah, Christian Noam. Yeah.
Yeah, when they were questioning her, they said, okay, do you believe in the Constitution? She said yes. Okay, well, do you understand that in the Constitution it says that the president has to go through Congress to do a lot of these things? Oh, well, he's making the best decisions for this country. You just told me that you believe in the Constitution. The Constitution clearly states that these matters have to go through Congress first. So, go ahead.
No, what I want to say is that it's a slippery slope. And the reason I'm going to use the term slippery slope is because I, as a non-elected person who sits on several boards, when you are interacting with the system that we call government, it is slow. Literally slow. Okay, it is slow to do anything. Now, I'm of course talking from the standpoint of saying it is slow from doing positive changes, right? But now when you have a situation where we as a society, or people who are in government, or who are doing business with government, or who are leading on boards, say, why does it take 50 years just to do one thing? And then you have somebody who comes in with the mentality, but they want to change things for not the betterment, and people are being affected negatively by it. I think this is where we have a problem. But I think it is very clear that I should state that part of the reason why you have executive orders is because government just is slow. But executive orders...
No. In this instance, we have executive orders because he cannot get the government to agree to do the things that he's trying to do. I'm telling you, it's not happening. Even if you get them all to vote on one particular thing, say, oh, go ahead and deport American citizens, that's really about what that's really about at this point. And I'm not saying it's not gonna go further. What it's really about is like the parents that they're trying to deport. They want to be able to deport those children too, which you're not supposed to be able to do. Like, you can't send American kids home, but they're like, it's a 2-year-old. What we gonna do with them? What's really supposed to happen is that they're supposed to go to DCF custody, or some relative that's in the United States is supposed to get guardianship. That's what's supposed to happen. But the reason why this particular administration is relying on executive orders is because the things he's trying to do will not be able to make it through the House and the Senate, even though they are falling in line, because they are going to be able to convince folks, at least a few Republicans, to say no. And most of those things have to pass with like a majority, not just 50%. I think it's like 60% or something like that. And they know they can't get it. And that's why he's doing the things that he's doing. But the pushback is happening. It may be happening slow, but I'm telling you it's happening. And I really believe, and one of the ways we can show that it's happening is because he continues to pivot. Every time he's doing pot wars, the next day he's saying something else. The fact that he has to keep changing his tune is because he's getting slapped in the face with what he's doing, and now he got to go try to do something else. And at some point, there's going to be nowhere else to turn, and then we'll see we'll see what happens with that. And I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm not saying it's not tragic. And I'm not saying a lot of people aren't going to get hurt in the process, because that's exactly what's happening. However, there's going to be light at the end of this tunnel. There's going to be light at the end of this tunnel.
And honestly, I think every day that I consider what's happening, I always look at it from a spiritual perspective, that it does get dark before you see the light at the tunnel. That's just the way things are. It's hurtful that you have people dying, you have people being separated from their children, their families. But I do believe ultimately what is going to happen is that we are going to come into a settling. Now, how much wreckage, how much is going to have to seemingly happen before we get to that point, only God knows. But I do agree with you, Sandra. I believe that there is going to be a leveling off, right? Because how much of this can you actually sustain? You understand?
Not much. Not much. And we're also, and I just want to make this point, that we're also seeing the change just with the Cuban and the Venezuelan community in South Florida.
I want to say that too.
Go ahead and say it, Christine. I'm gonna let you go ahead and take that over.
Listen, there was a report that came out this morning that said that Trump's approval ratings have dropped so low in Florida. In Florida, y'all, the Venezuelans and the Cuban community, they are not having it. They're saying that this is not what they voted for. This is not what they supported. And they are upset. Now, what does this mean for us? I mean, honestly, I saw that report and I was shocked, because I really didn't think, right, that we would get to this point. But this is a great moment, and not to get into, too much party politics, but this is the moment right now for the Democratic Party to now show the people why we are the Democratic Party. Show them that we are the ones. I don't think you're
gonna see the moment, Christine, but that's okay. I think
they're gonna see the moment. They're gonna see the moment that they're going to see the moment that those three individuals are not winning again. Salazar, Carlos Jimenez, Diaz-Balart, even though he's been elected for 40 years or whatever, he comes from a family of elected officials. Those folks are not getting reelected. They are not getting reelected.
Listen,
and now whether a Democrat wins, I don't know, but it's going to be a different Republican. And that person's going to be more moderate or probably even a non-party affiliate. But those three clowns that won't show you, they got signs up that's calling them traitors. All right, up in Hialeah, all through Miami-Dade. Those folks aren't winning again.
Comparing them to some of the worst dictators.
What if, and I'm just saying what if that actually leads to some kind of real policy changes for immigrants? Because these group of people are being held accountable by Cubans and Venezuelans.
Yep.
They feel the pressure so hard that they start to move towards immigration reform, and they now collectively, right, within the Republican Party say, listen, you guys got to give them this, right? And I'm not saying
they're going to do something. No. You're right. They're going to do something.
They're going to try to keep their quote unquote positions, whether, like you just said, another Republican.
Nah, they're done. They're done.
They're done.
They're done. They were hiding too long.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, you're talking to somebody that ran against Diaz-Balart. I ran against Diaz-Balart. Hello, in 2022. And I had Republicans voting for me. I had Republicans in Miami Lakes voting for me. Why? Why did they vote for me? Because they were already tired of him. Now imagine, they were already tired of him then. Now, forget it. I got almost 60,000 votes against him. 60,000 votes.
But one of the things I like Sandra stated, that they might be primaried. right? And you get a more moderate
As they should
person.
be.
Yeah, but
As they should
they're
be.
always primaried. They're always
I mean,
primaried.
They're
when I
losing.
say,
They're losing.
right,
They're absolutely going to
when I say
lose.
primary, not like them being the leading the pack, primary with them being at the bottom of it, and then somebody else rising who says, you know what, I'm for the people and I'm gonna fight for the people. And you know what, to be honest with you, I always say that new elected officials are usually closer to doing the real work than people that are seasoned. Because people that are seasoned, like Christine says, they drink the Kool-Aid and then they just, they just going in the
They
different
chugged it.
directions.
They're like,
Yeah,
I'm trying to
They
keep this
chugged
job
it.
because I love the perks. They're like, I'm gonna keep this job because I love the perks. I got an expense account. I got
and so
staff. I could be flying
sometimes,
back and forth on a government
yes,
dime.
sometimes
Ain't nobody trying to go home.
yeah, sometimes you need a new broom because this is just not working. Now, again, whether the Democrats find their way to getting it together, that's another story. But I do believe what Sandra is saying, that they get primaried and you find people that are moderate, and that, I mean, we just need heartfelt leaders now. Like, I'm so sick of people that just talk about, oh, I'm for you, and then you don't show up. Like, you can't, you just don't have that luxury. You just don't have that luxury, especially when people are suffering and now people are dying. People are dying. Honestly, what I could really care less right now, either one party or the next, but I'm looking for better people, better
Yes.
quality candidates. Just, I honestly, I think across the board, what Sandra is saying is true. People need to lose their seats. Period. Go sit down somewhere. You're done. You're done. And and I don't mean to say it so harshly, but I just feel like what else can happen? What more needs to happen before the people say, I'm okay, I'm finished with you?
This is it.
Well,
We're
a lot
done.
of reps are not seeking re-election, and I'm wondering if the party's asking them not to.
Even if the party's not asking, they're scared to do town halls because they don't want none of that smoke. They're like, yo, this job used to be easy. They're like, wait, now we got to bring security in. Folks mad. When they were able to sit back and do nothing, it was okay. Now people will be like, nah, I need you to go do your job. They're like, well, my job kind of hard. I won't do all that. So I don't even think it's the party that's telling them not to run. They just like, no, they really want me to work right now. So now I'm just going home, take my little pension, take the little stock money I made, because I swear it's been some insider trading, but that ain't my business. I ain't called no names, so I ain't specifically accuse nobody of nothing. But they gonna take their money and run right now because they're like, shoot, I ain't trying to get indicted later. So they're like, let me go ahead and just take this change in money, and I don't need to do this hard work. That's all that is. So I don't think it's the party. I think they're just realizing that nope, this job about to get serious and this job is about to get hard. And it's hard because they know what he's doing is wrong. They know it. They absolutely know it. They know it. They know it. But for whatever reason, they're not tough enough to speak out and say it. So they're like, you know what? Let me just go home because this is hard. Yeah, that's what it is. They know what he's doing ain't right.
And honestly, I don't understand. I'm not going to say I understand their position because I don't. I've never been elected. But one thing I understand about leadership, when you tell the person the truth, at the end, the person respects you more. Telling somebody who's doing something wrong that, hey, good job, patting them on the back, rah, 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 let's go, let's go. I mean, it honestly is not the right way to actually manage power, because at some point the person is going to come to themselves. There's going to be consequences to pay, and then they're going to realize everybody around them who was telling them good job, rah, 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 really literally led them to the slaughter. And that's really what's going to happen. And unfortunately,
You good, or you want me to jump in?
Yeah, go ahead and jump in because I think she's paused. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So yes, we need new leadership. Now, I see a lot of people. I mean, I don't know if this is the conversation we really should be having, but I see a lot of of people just posting things on Instagram and on Facebook, and I'm wondering, are they thinking of running?
They gonna run because remember we told you like 385 of them gotta go, so it's only
But
50 stand. They
some
running.
of them are recycled. Like,
well, we don't need no more.
Even if it's recycled candidate, they probably won't win either. But I think there's gonna be a whole group of young folks that's gonna come up, and not only young folks. What I think is gonna happen is like my age group is kind of like in the middle. We're the ones that like to wait our turn, right? We're like, no, let's wait until that other person retire, and let them pass the mantle on to me, or something else happen to them. I think our group is like, yeah, nah, we're gonna have to be like, all right, grandma, grandpa, you gonna need to go and sit down because we need to come in here and do some things. Right, so I think some of the people in my age group is started finally saying, you know what?
So what's your age group? Aren't you and aren't we on the same?
I'm
age
over
group?
50. I'm over 50. So
my
yeah.
God,
yeah.
You're not a baby boomer.
Yeah. I'm a gummonette. I'm over 50.
No, you're not a baby boomer.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but I'm over 50.
I need your face regimen.
That black don't crack. That black don't crack.
I really could have sworn we were like in the same age. I'm 41. I thought for sure.
Nah, I'm over 50. I'm over 50. So
Yes.
So I think our group is finally saying, you know what, we're not gonna wait because we have the energy. Because one of the things with young folks, I like their energy, but a lot of times they don't have that institutional knowledge. They don't have a lot of that experience. They haven't been able to kind of manage their feelings well enough, and they may, but folks in our age group, either the kids are grown or you kind of have like some professional experience that you can kind of bring to the position along with your activism and your need to do the change. So I think we're going to have more in this age group that's going to be willing to just go ahead and say, you know what, I am going to go ahead and challenge them. They may not like it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Because I love the activism of young folks, but you do need like some seasoned people to come in there and bring in their knowledge, their experience, their temperament, and all of those things.
How do we protect them? Change. How do we protect them?
They're gonna get protected because right about now, like sometimes like really terrible things happen and it just wake folks up, right? It's just like, listen, this is so bad that at this point you really you got to do what's necessary, and what's necessary may be hurting some people's feelings in order for us to get do what's for the greater good. And that's what it is. And then this whole thing, and what else can happen too, because there is a regime of folks who have been able to just dictate who's going to win, how they're going to win, who's going to run, and whatever. That era is ending too. That era is also ending. That era of these people who think they have all of this clout to dictate who's going into office, that's also coming to an end.
Show me the proof of that.
No,
it's happening. I'm telling you.
It is. Can you imagine that? As bad as the president is, he's one who's causing all of these upset and this unrest that's going to lead to people like Sandra stepping up to the plate. And I
would not run for office, though. I would never spend that kind of money to run for office.
I know.
So nobody don't got to be worried about me. Don't worry about me because I ain't doing it.
We have a situation where people who's your age and people who's my age, there are not a lot of Generation X in office. They're not, right? And then is
that my age group? I'm Generation X.
I'm a millennial.
So
you have Generation X.
You have like Christine's generation. They fired up, ready to go. Then you have, I think you and I are.
Naomi, you're a millennial too.
No, I'm not a millennial.
What do you mean?
Generation X. I'm
a boy. Oh, so you're Generation X, and I
got a little. What should I say? Respect.
I'm researching this.
I kind of like Sandra, but not fully like Sandra. I do believe like you have to reverence those that came before you, and you have to respect what they brought to the table, and had they not gone before you, we would not have what we have now. So it's better to build upon what they left off. Some millennials is like,
okay,
listen, this
you are Generation X. I
Hold
stand
on. So this
corrected.
battle right now. Okay. Okay. She's Generation X. What am
And
I?
so are you. Your generation.
I
X.
am too. Okay.
Yes.
So but what we need to tell our the people that we respect and we love, the ancestors, is this fight is gonna start. This fight requires Megan Thee Stallion knees right now. So we cannot, as much as they want to. This fight is gonna require people that got Megan Thee Stallion knees that can keep walking and knock on all those doors. Like, so I do stuff in Broward, and one of the issues that they have in Broward, you have a lot of older folks that are area leaders, precinct people that's real involved in the party. But all they can do or want to do is make like phone calls and that type of stuff, because they're like, I can't walk like that. I'm too, they're too old. They can't go walking around in neighborhoods, knocking doors. And we're not saying that there's not a place for them, right? But they admit it. They're like, listen, it's hot outside. I ain't got the knees for it. I can't walk like that. So, but this fight right now, we need the people with the Megan Thee Stallion knees that can go outside and walk and knock on all them doors. And that's going to be maybe some people a little younger than me, and they're going to be the people that's my age that stayed fit, right? Because this fight really requires people that's going to be able to put in that work. This is serious. This is real. This is some serious business, and we need people that's going to put in this work.
Love the way you put it.
We need Megan knees right now, because they got to walk and put some holes in them shoes.
But you know what? I think that unfortunately for us, people like you and people like me would not have risen up unless real turmoil came, right? Because you're like,
I'm gonna agree with that, because I started doing this particular show out of turmoil. Like, the show Race and Races came out of what happened with George Floyd. And when I first started interviewing candidates, it was because I wanted to do everything to make sure 45 didn't win in 2020. I was like, I'm leaving it all on the floor. I was like, and just in case he does, I'm going to make sure we do down ballot candidate stuff. But it was the thought of him becoming president in 2020 is what really got me into like full-fledged. I'm going to put my face online, and I'm going to talk to everybody that I can. And I'm going to go to every meeting to see who our leaders are and connect myself with folks. So it was absolutely that got me started originally. And it was that tragedy of George Floyd that got me to start the show Racing the Races, because elections have consequences, and that's important. So that's it. So that's why I'm saying in this moment, they're going to be like thousands and thousands of me or people like me and other folks that are going to come up and we're going to rest, and we're going to do it in our own way, but we're going to make a difference. I just want to make a point. So I had a friend of mine who, she's not really involved in politics at all, but then she felt the need to, go online and, make a statement about, what happened with Marie-Ange Blaise. And just her statement alone, her video went viral. Over 40,000 people have seen it. And so activism comes in different ways. She brought us, so people who probably would have not have known about that, because she decided to go do a 9 or 10-minute video talking about what happened to her. 40,000 people have already seen that video and counting. And so those are impressions.
Can she share our petition?
Well, yeah, I'll ask her to do it. And she doesn't, that's her first viral video. Like, she's had content, but that content literally skyrocketed and over 40,000 people have seen it. Because so even though we're resting, we're putting in work and making impact one person at a time with 10-minute worth of effort has made that impact and put this woman's name out in the forefront, that now tomorrow at 10 a.m. they're going to have a vigil or a prayer that asks for everyone to
tomorrow
come.
Is actually a press conference.
A press conference.
And it seems like they were able to get some family members, which is amazing. So tomorrow, organized by the the Miami-Dade Democratic Black Caucus, we will be having a press conference tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in Miami Gardens. I shared the flyer on my Facebook, so I don't know if we can maybe add the flyer to this post on Facebook for anyone that wants to attend. But I'm just so excited that no one is letting up, that we're going to keep the pressure on. And it's so amazing, because somebody from the Black Caucus said the reason why we are fighting so hard right now for the fair treatment of Black immigrants and just immigrants in general is because, Black people are next. So it's like we need to realize,
we've always been on the menu, girl. There's no next. We've always been on the menu.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is they're removing them first and then they're going to try to remove us, like is what they're saying. They're going to find a way or whatever to make America white again. And so even though America's never been white, right? So they're like, we need to fight for everybody. It's like what they say, no one's free until all of us are free. So join us tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and let's keep the momentum going.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So we talked about so that's about the death of the in detention facility. Christine talked about deals that they're making with Libya. They're also making a similar deal with Panama, because of the Darien jungle, that region where it's a very treacherous region where people that are traveling from like South America, like from like Brazil and Chile coming through the United States. That's a very dangerous area, and a lot of crime is happening in that space. And Panama accepted some money from the United States to try to address that. But in return, the United States are like, okay, we want you to become the third country that we can send people to. And what ends up happening is like if and when they get to Panama, because Panama is going to be like, well, okay, how you going to get papers in Panama? We don't have to keep no illegals. And these folks are going to end up being sent back to their native countries, which the United States can't do it. But by sending them to a third country, and if the third country does it, then they can be like, well, it wasn't us. We didn't do that. And the part about this that's significant is most of those people have been able to prove to a judge, an immigration judge in the United States, that says that if they go back to their native country, they will be persecuted, meaning that they will lose their lives or their lives will be in danger. So the United States cannot remove them back to their home country, but they do have an option of sending them to a third country. So they're picking a third country that's willing to say, oh yeah, we'll accept them, but really not accepting them to keep them there, but accepting them to returning them back to their native countries. So this is the kind of stuff that's happening. We need to bring awareness to this. And so that was one of the other points I wanted to make. And we talked about this earlier too, when I said, listen, the reason why they keep pivoting is because, what the works that people are doing is making a difference, right? They're not slowing down, but they continue to have to pivot because of the work that people are doing. And so we're going to make them pivot themselves into a corner that they cannot get out of, so we can see what it is that we're looking for. All right, yo. So y'all go ahead, like final words.
I mean, honestly, like I said, the best that can come out of this is actually a true path to citizenship for immigrants. And I recently went somewhere, and I'm not going to mention who, and then the person says, oh yeah, we're not going to let up until they renew TPS. I'm like, no, stop. That is not what we need. We need a pathway to citizenship so that they secure their borders. Those people that are here can be legalized, and that they can go on with their lives. Putting people in this, quandary where, every couple of months you're coming after them. This is not a life. This is not a life. And, I'm hoping that those that are elected put themselves in the shoes of those that are going through this. Nobody wants to feel this anxiety or anxiousness that I don't have it yet, right? We need to fight till the end, and we don't need to fight halfway. We need to go all the way, and it needs to be a pathway to citizenship. I think with everything that's happening right now, if this president actually decided to give a pathway to citizenship, I think he would get it, the support, because everybody is tired. It's like we're just so tired of what's going on that if you want to actually put an end to it, I think he can get the support to just like, okay, just put an end to this sense, right? Let's give them a pathway to citizenship, and let's just clean the slate and then start off anew, and so that people can actually go back to living and participating in their communities and being a part of the American dream. And so that's, I know sometimes it
Agreed.
seems like, that is all prayer, but that's what I'm believing God for, that with all this turmoil, both sides are just so overwhelmed that he one day gets up and say, hey, pathway to citizenship, and everybody's just like, okay, let's go.
Comprehensive immigration reform. That's what we need. Comprehensive immigration reform. They have not had anything of significance since 2000. So we need some comprehensive immigration reform.
And I think that is the blessing that we are praying for. That's what we're asking God for. And as crazy as it may seem, it may be Trump. You know, sometimes the person who creates the chaos have the ability to actually realign things. Just because you was just so chaotic, right?
Yeah,
that
he wants to salvage some legacy, so they can say something good about him.
Right, and it's so funny. I have to think like this, but it's real politics. Like the person is thinking, when this is over, what are they going to say about me as an individual? That's real. They give you 4 years to do something. What did you do? Nothing. Right, and this is why you have even local politics. At the end, you have people squandering to find something to do, to deliver something so that they can say, this is my legacy. And I think that, you know, we can actually pray and ask God to, I know Christine is saying, no, it ain't gonna happen. But I believe that the Lord is more than able. And even in the worst of situations, he can turn that person around. And biblically speaking, there's so many stories in the Bible that the person was just so far off. I mean, literally,
I agree with you.
Yeah, Saul was getting to kill every single Christian, honey, and he wasn't stopping. And long and behold,
I agree that with God, all things are possible.
Let me get my little sermon. God knocked him off his little horse, blind him, okay? And then he went on the road called straight. Okay, I believe in the name of Jesus that Trump can get on straight. It ain't gonna be us. It ain't gonna be.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Hallelujah.
All right. All right, Christine.
So, you know, my grandma taught me that if you don't have anything nice to say, just keep your mouth shut. So I'm gonna let you have that. I'm gonna let you have that because number one, I do believe in the God that can do the impossible. That I do believe in. Okay. And you're talking to somebody that organized a prayer march, and it was, you know, 7 times around the White House. That was the goal, because I was hoping that the walls would just come tumbling down. Okay, so I understand that, but moving on to my final words for today, the goal is don't stop fighting, because even now, as I'm discouraged, I don't stop fighting. Even if I feel like I am literally in the darkness or I am screaming out into the void, like I keep fighting. I today I feel a little discouraged, obviously, but I'm encouraged and discouraged. I get both feelings, right? It's a roller coaster. I'm going through a literal emotional roller coaster. Last night I went grocery shopping for my kids, and I cried when I got home because I thought of all the mothers that cannot go grocery shopping for their children. They do not have this luxury. They don't. Some are begging to even find food. And that kills me every day. It kills me and it fuels me. So like I said, I go through this emotional roller coaster where I love on people so much, right? And then I just want to go out there and fight. I want everybody to be intentional on how they fight. Do not stop calling your reps. Do not stop calling your senators. Do not stop signing petitions. If people have petitions, sign them. It's nothing. If you believe in the cause, just sign it. Let's all do our part. Let's all do our best, right? We don't know what is going to be the thing that makes the lasting change, or maybe it's going to be all of it. But my final words for tonight is let's not stop. Do not let up. Keep going in any way that you can. Do not overextend your capacity, obviously, but do whatever is within your capacity to fight for people. Why? Because we are in a state of privilege. We can go grocery shopping. We have jobs that we can go to, like just even being able to drink clean water. Like, we have privileges. We can speak out about things and not feel like we're going to get persecuted. We have the privilege. So don't stop. Keep going. Even when it seems like you're in the darkness, believes that there's light at the end of the tunnel, as the ladies both so kindly stated.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you all. This is so great. And I'm so glad that we decided we're going to do this. I think it's important. We're bringing out information. We're inspiring and motivating people. And I'm telling you, they may not give us credit, but we're doing it. And even if it's just a little bit, you reach one, teach one, you reach one, and just let them take that message out to somebody else. And then, and if it continues to multiply, we'll get to where it is that we need to be. And it's crazy, but I think we're the fact that electeds are starting to talk, people are getting involved, we see movement, and he's continuing to pivot. I think we're on the right track, and we're doing the right thing. So yes, all right, ladies, we'll see you all next week, and have a great night. Good night.